My daughter Amanda handed me a steaming cup of hot chocolate with the sweetest smile I had seen from her in months. She insisted I try it right away. "I made it special for you, Mom," she said. But when I lifted that cup to my lips, something stopped me cold. The smell beneath the chocolate was wrong. Bitter. Chemical. My stomach clenched with an instinct I could not name. Amanda watched me too intently, her eyes tracking the cup to my mouth. When her husband Brandon walked into the kitchen, I made a decision that saved my life. I set down my cup and picked up his empty one, switching them while Amanda turned toward the counter. 50 minutes later, the screaming started. The sound came from the dining room, where Brandon had gone to check his phone. It was not a normal scream. It was the kind of sound that turns your blood to ice, the kind that tells you something has gone terribly, horribly wrong. I was still standing in my kitchen, my hands gripping the edge of the counter, when Brandon stumbled through the doorway. His face had gone from its normal, healthy color to a deep, angry red. Both hands clutched at his stomach. His breathing came in short, desperate gasps that reminded me of a fish pulled from water. "Amanda," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Amanda, something is wrong with Brandon." She came running from the living room where she had been scrolling through her phone. When she saw her husband, she screamed. The sound was piercing, genuine terror that made me question everything I had just done. Was I wrong? Had I imagined that strange smell? Was I losing my mind? "What happened?" Amanda kept saying as she rushed to Brandon's side. "What did you eat? What did you eat?" Brandon could barely speak. He pointed a shaking finger toward the kitchen, toward the cup he had drunk from. The cup I had switched. The cup that was meant for me. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My fingers were steadier than I expected. The dispatcher answered on the second ring, and I gave her my address, explained that my son-in-law was having some kind of severe reaction to something he consumed. She told me paramedics were 7 minutes away. In a small town like ours, the fire station is close to everything. Amanda cradled Brandon's head in her lap. Tears streamed down her face. Her whole body shook. I watched her carefully, studying every expression, every movement. This was my daughter, the girl I had nursed through chickenpox and stayed up with during nightmares. The woman I had held when her father Gerald died 3 years ago. Could she really have tried to poison me? The paramedics arrived in 6 minutes. They came through my front door with their equipment and their calm, professional voices. Brandon's airways were starting to close. They got him on a stretcher, started an IV, asked rapid-fire questions. What did he ingest? When? How much? Any known allergies? Amanda told them he had hot chocolate at my house. Just hot chocolate. She kept repeating it like a prayer. Just hot chocolate. They loaded Brandon into the ambulance. Amanda climbed in beside him. I grabbed my purse and keys to follow in my car. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, I saw Mrs. Patterson from across the street standing on her porch, watching. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know something had happened at the widow Haley's house. At the hospital, Amanda and I sat in the waiting room. She clutched my hand so hard it hurt. Her eyes were red and swollen. She kept asking me what could have happened. "Mom," she said, "what was in that chocolate?" I did not know how to answer. The smell had been wrong, but I had not tasted it. I had switched the cups on instinct alone. How could I tell her that? How could I say I thought she was trying to kill me? After what felt like hours but was probably only 40 minutes, a doctor in green scrubs came out to talk to us. His face was serious but not grief-stricken, which I took as a good sign. Brandon was stable, he said, but critical. He had ingested some kind of toxic substance. They were running tests to determine exactly what. The next 24 hours would be crucial. "What kind of toxic substance?" Amanda asked. Her voice had gone very quiet. The doctor explained they would not know for certain until the tests came back, but Brandon's symptoms suggested poisoning. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. Amanda turned to look at me. I watched the change happen on her face. It started with confusion, moved through realization, and landed on something cold and sharp. "Mom," she said slowly, "you made that hot chocolate." I opened my mouth to respond, but she kept talking. "Brandon drank from your cup." The pieces were falling into place for her, but not the way I needed them to. Not the truth. "What did you put in that drink?" she asked. Her voice was rising now. Other people in the waiting room were starting to look our way. "Amanda," I tried to explain. "Amanda, listen to me." But she was standing up, backing away from me like I was dangerous. "You tried to poison me," she said. Her voice cracked, and my husband drank it instead. "No," I said. "No, that is not what happened." Hospital security was walking toward us. A large man with kind eyes and a concerned expression. Amanda was telling him that I had poisoned her husband, that I had made the drink, that Brandon had consumed it at my house, and now he was dying. "I need you to call the police," Amanda told the security guard. My mother poisoned my husband. The world tilted sideways. This was not how it was supposed to go. I had protected myself. I had trusted my instincts. But in doing so, I had put myself in a position where I looked guilty of the very thing my daughter had tried to do to me. The police arrived within 20 minutes. By then, Amanda had given her statement to 3 different hospital staff members. Each time she told it, the story sounded more damning. Each time, I sounded more unstable. The police station interrogation room was exactly like the ones on television. Gray walls, metal table, uncomfortable chairs. 2 detectives sat across from me. Detective Harris was maybe 50 years old with tired eyes and a wedding ring that looked like it had not been removed in decades. Detective Carolyn Walsh was younger, probably in her early 30s, with sharp features and an expression I could not read. "Mrs. Patterson," Detective Harris began, "that is my married name, the one I kept after Gerald died. Can you walk us through what happened today?" I told them everything. The hot chocolate Amanda made. The strange smell underneath the chocolate scent. Something bitter and chemical that made my stomach turn. The way Amanda watched me so intently. How I switched the cups when she turned away. How Brandon drank from the cup meant for me. "Why would you switch the cups?" Detective Walsh asked. Her tone was neutral, but I could hear the question underneath. "Why would you think your daughter was trying to poison you?" That was the question, was it not? The one I had been asking myself since the moment I made that split-second decision. "I do not have a good answer," I admitted. It was instinct. The smell was wrong, and she was watching me in a way that felt wrong. The detectives exchanged a glance. I had been married for 37 years. I knew what that kind of glance meant. They thought I was paranoid. Maybe worse. "Does Amanda have any reason to want to harm you?" Detective Harris asked. I could not think of one. We had our disagreements like any mother and daughter, but nothing that would explain this, nothing that made sense. They kept me there for 3 hours. The same questions asked different ways. My answers never changed because they were the truth. But truth, without evidence, is just a story, and my story sounded increasingly unbelievable even to my own ears. Finally, they said I could go home. Detective Walsh drove me. She did not talk much during the drive, just asked for directions. When we pulled up to my house, There were 2 police cars already in my driveway. "We need to search your home," she explained. "Just routine. You understand." I understood that nothing about this was routine. They went through my kitchen first, every cabinet, every drawer. They found my everyday medications in the bathroom: blood pressure pills, cholesterol medication, baby aspirin, all prescribed, all normal for a woman my age. In the garage, they found a container of rat poison from last winter when I had mice in the walls. Then one of the officers called out from my bathroom. He was holding a small brown bottle. The label was partially scratched off, but I could make out some of the words. Oleander extract. I had never seen that bottle before in my life. "Is this yours?" Detective Harris asked. His tone had changed. He was not asking out of curiosity anymore. "No," I said firmly. "I have never seen that bottle. It was not there this morning." "How can you be sure?" he pressed. "Because I take my medications from that cabinet every single morning," I would have noticed. But even as I said it, I realized how it sounded. An elderly woman, rattled by her husband's death 3 years ago, maybe not as sharp as she used to be. Maybe she did not notice a new bottle appearing. Maybe she put it there herself and forgot. Detective Walsh was watching me with something that looked like pity. "Does anyone else have access to your house?" she asked. "My son Thomas," I said. "He lives in Seattle, but he has a key for emergencies. And Amanda, my daughter, has a key." The realization hit me like a physical blow. Amanda had been here earlier in the week. She had stopped by on Tuesday and Wednesday, said she wanted to check on me, make sure I was eating properly. I had thought it was sweet, thoughtful. She had planted that bottle. "My daughter must have put that there," I said. The words came out too fast, too desperate. "She has been here multiple times this week. She could have easily planted that bottle." Detective Harris closed his evidence bag around the bottle. "Mrs. Patterson," he said, "I need to advise you not to leave town. We will be in touch." After they left, I sat alone in my house. The silence was crushing. I tried to think through what had happened. Amanda had been visiting more often lately, almost every day for the past 2 weeks. She had been unusually attentive, asking about my health, my finances, my plans. At the time, I had been touched. My daughter cared about me. Now I saw it differently. She had been planning this, setting the stage. I called my friend Dorothy, who lives 4 houses down the street. We had been neighbors for 23 years. She would believe me, but Dorothy did not answer. I left a message asking her to call me back. Then I tried my son Thomas in Seattle. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Mom," he said, "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "Amanda already called you," I said. It was not a question. "Yeah," he said slowly. "She is pretty upset. Mom, she said you have been acting confused lately, forgetting things. Is that true?" My own son. Amanda had gotten to him first. "Thomas, I need you to listen to me." I tried to keep my voice calm and rational. "Your sister tried to poison me today. I switched the cups, and Brandon drank it instead. The police think I did it, but it was Amanda." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Mom," Thomas finally said. His voice was gentle in a way that made me want to scream. "Have you talked to anyone about how you have been feeling since Dad died? Maybe a therapist or a counselor?" He thought I was having a breakdown. Grief-induced psychosis. Paranoid delusions about my own daughter. "I am not crazy," I said. "I know, Mom. No one is saying you are crazy. But maybe you are having a hard time and you need some help." After we hung up, I sat in my living room and looked at the family photos on the wall. Amanda as a baby, chubby and smiling. Amanda on her first day of kindergarten. Amanda at her high school graduation. Amanda on her wedding day to Brandon 6 years ago. She looked so happy in that photo, so in love. What had happened to that girl? Where had she gone? My phone rang. I jumped, hoping it was Dorothy or Thomas calling back, but it was Amanda. "I know what you tried to do, Mother." Her voice was cold, measured, nothing like the hysterical woman from the hospital. "But you failed, and now Brandon is fighting for his life because of you." "Amanda, please," I started. "I will make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are," she continued, like I had not spoken. "What kind of mother tries to poison her own daughter?" "I did not try to poison you," I said. "You tried to poison me." She laughed. It was not a nice sound. "You should have just drunk the chocolate, Mom. It would have been so much easier for everyone." Then she hung up. I sat there holding my phone, my hand shaking. She had just admitted it. She had just confessed. But there was no one else to hear. No recording. Just her word against mine. And everyone believed her. My attempt to save myself had made everything infinitely worse. I was now facing potential murder charges. My daughter had framed me perfectly, and I had no way to prove my innocence. I could not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amanda's face. Not the cold, calculating expression from the phone call, but the little girl she used to be, the child who would crawl into bed with Gerald and me during thunderstorms, the teenager who cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke her heart. Where had I gone wrong? Around 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and went to Gerald's study. I had barely touched it since he died. His books were still on the shelves, his papers still in the desk drawers. It felt like disturbing a shrine. But I needed to understand. I needed to find something, anything, that would explain why my daughter wanted me dead. I started going through our financial documents. Gerald had always handled the money. I knew the basics. Our house was worth about $850,000. We lived in a good neighborhood, close to the lake. Property values had gone up significantly in the past decade. I had about $400,000 in savings and retirement accounts. Gerald's life insurance policy had paid out $300,000 when he died. My estate was worth over $1.5 million. The will was straightforward. Everything split evenly between Thomas and Amanda, 50-50. Fair and equal, the way Gerald and I had always tried to treat our children. But then I found something else. A folder marked Trust Documents. I pulled it out, confused. What trust? As I read through the papers, my blood went cold. 5 years ago, Gerald had set up a separate trust. If I died, the bulk of our estate would go to Thomas. Amanda would only receive $100,000. Everything else, over $1 million, would go to our son. Why would Gerald do that? I kept digging. At the bottom of the desk drawer, underneath old tax returns and insurance papers, I found a small leather journal. Gerald's handwriting filled the pages. I had never known he kept a journal. I flipped to the entries from 6 years ago, right around the time Amanda married Brandon. Gerald's neat script documented a discovery. Small amounts of money missing from our accounts. Checks written to cash. Credit card charges we had not made. He had investigated quietly, not wanting to believe what he was seeing. Amanda had been stealing from us. The entries detailed his confrontation with her, how she had cried and denied it at first, then admitted it when he showed her the evidence. She blamed Brandon, said he had been unemployed, and they were desperate. Gerald had paid off $30,000 of her debts, but he had also changed his will. He told Amanda she would inherit less unless she straightened out. He did not tell me because he did not want me to think badly of our daughter. He thought he could handle it quietly. 3 months after that final entry, Gerald had a massive heart attack while mowing the lawn. He died before the ambulance arrived. He never got the chance to explain the trust to me. Never got to tell me what Amanda had done. I sat back in Gerald's chair and looked at the journal in my hands. This was the motive. Amanda had been waiting for me to die. If I died before changing the will or discovering the trust, her share would stay small. But if something happened to me now, Thomas would inherit almost everything. Amanda had a million reasons to want me dead. Literally. The morning sun was starting to come through the windows when my phone rang. Detective Harris, Brandon's toxicology report, had come back. Oleander poisoning. The same substance as the bottle they had found in my bathroom cabinet. Brandon's condition had deteriorated overnight. If he died, the charges against me would be upgraded to murder. "I need you to come down to the station," Detective Harris said. I called the only lawyer I knew. Martin Webb had handled Gerald's estate. He was semi-retired now, mostly playing golf and spending time with his grandchildren. But he had known Gerald for 40 years. He had known our family. "Martin, I need help," I said when he answered. I explained everything. The hot chocolate, the switched cups, the planted evidence, the journal, the trust. Martin listened without interrupting. "I will meet you at the station," he said when I finished. "Do not say anything until I get there." At the police station, Martin laid out our case. He showed the detectives Gerald's journal, explained the trust and Amanda's motive. Detective Walsh seemed interested. She took notes, asked thoughtful questions. But Detective Harris remained skeptical. "This is circumstantial," he said. "You are asking us to believe your daughter has been planning to murder you for years. She killed her first husband," I blurted out. Everyone in the room went still. "What?" Detective Walsh asked. "Amanda was married before Brandon," I explained, "to a man named Nathan Kramer. He died 8 years ago from sudden food poisoning. Severe allergic reaction, they said. I had almost forgotten about it because it happened before Amanda brought Brandon home to meet us. But now, knowing what I know, it seems suspicious." Martin was already typing on his phone. Within minutes, he had found Nathan Kramer's obituary online. Dead at 31, survived by his mother Patricia, preceded in death by his father. "We will look into it," Detective Walsh said. "But that does not change the current evidence against you." That was when Amanda arrived. She swept into the station like she owned it, her eyes red from crying, her face pale and drawn. She was carrying Brandon's laptop under her arm. "I have something you need to see," she told the detectives. She opened the laptop and pulled up an email account. My email account, or so it appeared. Messages to Brandon dating back 6 months. I read over the detective's shoulders, my stomach sinking with each line. The emails complained about Amanda and Brandon living next door to me. How I wanted my space. How I resented having to see them every day. How I wished they would move far away. The last email, dated 3 days ago, said I was tired of waiting for them to leave. "I never sent those emails," I said. My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. Amanda produced more. Text messages from my phone to her phone. Screenshots of conversations where I supposedly made veiled threats. A voice recording of me saying, "I wished Brandon would disappear." Except I had never said that. It was either fabricated or taken wildly out of context. Then came the neighbor testimony. Amanda had brought her friend Jennifer, who lived 2 streets over. Jennifer told the police I had seemed paranoid lately, that I had told her I felt like people were watching me, that I had mentioned wanting to be left alone. I barely knew Jennifer. I had maybe spoken to her 3 times in my entire life. But the evidence was piling up. Emails, texts, voice recordings, witness statements. Amanda had been building this case for months, maybe longer, every piece carefully crafted and placed. Detective Harris arrested me, read me my rights. The words washed over me like cold water. Martin immediately started talking about bail, but I could barely focus. This was really happening. I was being charged with attempted murder of my son-in-law. The bail hearing happened the next morning. The judge set bail at $250,000. Martin arranged for a bail bondsman. I had to put up my house as collateral. Most of my liquid savings went to covering the fees. They fitted me with an ankle monitor. I could not leave my property without permission. Could not go more than 200 feet from the base unit they installed in my living room. I was a prisoner in my own home. Amanda's trap had closed around me. Every move I made to defend myself had only tightened the noose. She had been planning this for so long, had covered every angle, and I had walked right into it by switching those cups. The irony was almost funny. I had saved my own life, but destroyed it in the process. The story hit the local news that evening. Local woman charged with poisoning son-in-law. They used an old photo of me from some church function. I looked happy in it, smiling, harmless, the kind of grandmother you would trust to watch your children. The reporter stood in front of my house and recounted the allegations. Haley Patterson, 67 years old, allegedly poisoned her son-in-law, Brandon Matthews, with oleander extract. Matthews remains in critical condition. Patterson claims her daughter was the intended target and that she switched the cups to protect herself. Police say evidence contradicts her story. By the next morning, someone had spray painted the word murderer across my garage door in red paint. I stared at it through my kitchen window, not sure whether to cry or laugh. The paint dripped down like blood. Dorothy finally called me back. Her voice was strained, uncomfortable. "Haley, I do not know what to say. This is all so shocking." I tried to explain, but I could hear the doubt in her silence. She made excuses about needing to go. We have not spoken since. My church group stopped inviting me to meetings. The weekly book club I had belonged to for 12 years quietly removed me from their email list. When I ordered groceries for delivery, the driver left them at the curb instead of bringing them to my door like he used to. I was being erased from my own community. Brandon remained in the ICU. The doctors had put him in a medically induced coma. His liver and kidneys were failing. The poison had ravaged his system. If he survived, there would likely be permanent damage. Amanda played the devastated wife perfectly. She gave an interview to the local news station. Tears streaming down her face, she talked about how much she loved Brandon, how they had been trying to start a family, how she could not believe her own mother would do this. "I never thought she was capable of this," Amanda said to the camera. "I trusted her. We all trusted her." The community rallied around her. A GoFundMe page raised $37,000 for Brandon's medical bills. Women from my church brought Amanda casseroles and offers of support. She had become the victim, the wronged daughter, the loving wife standing by her poisoned husband. And I had become the monster. Thomas arrived from Seattle 4 days after the poisoning. I thought maybe he would listen to me. Maybe seeing me in person would remind him that I was his mother, that I would never do something like this. But when he came to my door, his expression was guarded, closed off. "Mom, we need to talk." He would not even come inside. We stood on my front porch where anyone could see us, where anyone could hear. "I think you need help," he said. "Professional help. This whole situation, the accusations against Amanda, the paranoia, it is not healthy." "I am not paranoid," I told him. "Your sister tried to kill me. She poisoned that hot chocolate, and I switched the cups. Mom, listen to yourself. Thomas ran his hands through his hair. He looked exhausted. You are saying your own daughter tried to murder you. Do you hear how that sounds? I tried to show him Gerald's journal, the entries about Amanda stealing from us, the trust documents. But Thomas barely glanced at them. Dad was protective of you, he said. Maybe he was confused about some missing money. Maybe Amanda borrowed some cash and forgot to tell you. That does not mean she is a killer. She was married before, I said desperately. Her first husband died under suspicious circumstances. Thomas stared at me. Mom, Nathan had a severe allergic reaction. It was tragic, but it was an accident. You are creating conspiracies where none exist. He wanted me to see a psychiatrist, said he was worried about early onset dementia, or maybe a mental break triggered by grief over Gerald's death. I am not crazy, I said. I know, Mom. His voice was so gentle it hurt. But you are not well. Let me help you get the treatment you need. After he left, I sat alone in my house and felt the walls closing in. Both of my children thought I was delusional. My friends had abandoned me. My neighbors thought I was a murderer. The police had physical evidence against me. Amanda had won. That night I could not stop thinking about Nathan Kramer, Amanda's first husband, the one who had conveniently died right before I met Brandon. I got on my computer and started searching. It took me 2 hours, but I finally found what I was looking for. Nathan's obituary from 8 years ago. Beloved son of Patricia and William Kramer. William had died years earlier, but Patricia was still alive. She had a Facebook page. I scrolled through her posts. Photos of grandchildren, memories of Nathan. And then I saw it, a post from 2 years ago on what would have been Nathan's birthday. Miss you every day, she had written. Still do not believe it was just an accident. You deserved better. You deserved justice. In the comments, friends and family had offered condolences, but one comment caught my eye. Patricia had replied to someone asking what she meant. There were things that did not add up, she wrote, but no one wanted to listen. Amanda made sure of that. I sent Patricia a private message, explained who I was, told her what had happened, asked if she would be willing to talk. She called me within an hour. I have been waiting 8 years for someone to believe me, Patricia said. Her voice shook with emotion. Your daughter killed my son. I know she did. I just could never prove it. She told me everything. Nathan and Amanda had been married for 2 years. At first, everything seemed fine. But then Nathan discovered Amanda was having an affair. He had decided to divorce her. The papers were drawn up, ready to file. 3 days before the divorce papers were filed, Nathan got sick. Severe gastric distress, organ failure. The doctors called it toxic shock syndrome, possibly from food contamination. But it had happened at home after Amanda made him dinner. He died within 18 hours. Amanda inherited everything. Nathan had a life insurance policy for $150,000. Amanda was the beneficiary. She took the money and disappeared from their lives. Patricia tried to get the police to investigate, but there was no evidence. The death was ruled accidental. Patricia had to bury her son and watch his killer walk free. I will testify, Patricia said. I will tell them everything. Maybe together we can finally get justice for Nathan and stop her before she kills again. I thanked her and hung up. Finally, I had something. Proof that Amanda had done this before. A pattern of behavior. This was not just a paranoid mother making accusations. This was a serial killer. The next morning, I took all my evidence to Detective Walsh. Gerald's journal, the trust documents, Patricia Kramer's contact information. Everything. Detective Walsh listened. She took notes. She seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. "This is compelling," she admitted. "We will look into Nathan Kramer's death. But I have to be honest with you, Mrs. Patterson. Even if Amanda did kill her first husband, that does not prove she tried to kill you. The evidence in the current case is still very strong against you. But it establishes motive," I argued, "and pattern of behavior. She has done this before." "We will investigate," Walsh promised, "but you need to be prepared for the possibility that it might not change anything." I left the police station feeling a tiny spark of hope. It was not much, but it was something. That hope died 2 hours later. I came home to find Thomas's car in my driveway, and next to it, a car I did not recognize. Thomas was standing on my porch with two people I had never seen before, a man and a woman, both wearing professional clothing and carrying clipboards. "Mom," Thomas said when he saw me, "these people are from Crisis Intervention Services. We think you need to be evaluated. An emergency psychiatric hold." That was what he was suggesting. That I was a danger to myself or others. That I needed to be committed for observation. Martin Webb arrived within 20 minutes of my frantic phone call. He threatened legal action if they tried to take me anywhere without a court order. The crisis counselors backed off, but the damage was done. While I had been at the police station trying to build my case, Amanda had been at my house. She had used her key to get in. Thomas showed me photos on his phone. Pictures of my living room wall where I had taped up a timeline. Photos of Amanda as a child next to articles about Nathan Kramer's death. Notes about the trust and the inheritance. Red string connecting different pieces of evidence. It looked insane. Like the conspiracy wall of someone who had completely lost touch with reality. "She has created a whole fantasy," Amanda had told Thomas. "Look at what she has done. She needs help." I tried to explain that I was investigating, building a case, but even to my own ears, it sounded like the ravings of a paranoid woman. Thomas left without saying goodbye. The disappointment in his eyes cut deeper than any words could have. My court date was moved up. The judge wanted a psychiatric evaluation before trial. If I was deemed mentally incompetent, Amanda would be granted power of attorney. She would control my medical decisions, my finances, everything. She would have complete power over me, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The psychiatric evaluation took 3 days. Dr. Raymond Foster was in his mid-50s with gray hair and a calm demeanor that probably served him well in his profession. He asked me hundreds of questions about my childhood, my marriage to Gerald, my relationship with my children, my mental state since Gerald's death. I answered everything as carefully and rationally as I could. I explained about the hot chocolate and the strange smell, about switching the cups, about finding Gerald's journal and the trust documents, about Nathan Kramer and Patricia's suspicions. Dr. Foster listened without judgment. He took pages and pages of notes. I could not tell what he was thinking. The report took another 2 days. When it finally came, Martin read it to me over the phone. I was deemed competent to stand trial. No evidence of psychosis or dementia. However, Dr. Foster noted that I was under extreme stress. He mentioned possible paranoid ideation regarding my daughter, but stopped short of calling it delusional. It was not a complete victory, but it was enough. I would not be committed. Amanda would not get power of attorney. I was still legally in control of my own life. For now. 2 weeks after the poisoning, Brandon woke up. The news came from Detective Walsh. She called to tell me that Brandon had regained consciousness. He was weak, and his organs were still damaged, but he could speak. They would be interviewing him as soon as the doctors allowed. This could change everything. If Brandon remembered what happened, if he could tell them the truth about that day. But Amanda had restricted all visitors except herself. I could not get near him, could not ask him what he remembered, could not find out if he knew the truth. I felt helpless, trapped. That is when I made a decision that was either very brave or very stupid. Probably stupid. I had to talk to Brandon. The hospital was 7 miles from my house. My ankle monitor allowed me a radius of 200 feet. If I left my property, the police would be alerted immediately. I would be arrested for violating my bail conditions. But I had to try. I got in my car at 2 in the morning. I figured I had maybe 30 minutes before police would arrive at my house. Maybe 40, if I was lucky. It was enough time to get to the hospital, find Brandon's room, and talk to him. The drive took 12 minutes. The hospital parking lot was mostly empty at that hour. I went through the main entrance like I had every right to be there. Took the elevator to the 4th floor, where they had moved Brandon out of ICU. Finding his room was easy. There were only 2 people on the floor besides patients and nurses. I walked past the nurses' station, like I belonged there. Room 412. Brandon was awake. He looked terrible. His face was gaunt and pale. IV lines ran from both arms. Monitoring equipment beeped softly beside the bed. When he saw me, his eyes went wide. Not with anger, with fear. "You need to leave," he whispered urgently. "If Amanda finds you here." He did not finish the sentence. "Brandon," I said, moving closer to the bed, "I need you to tell me the truth. What do you remember about that day?" He looked at the door nervously, then back at me. "I remember everything," he said quietly. "Amanda made the hot chocolate. She was acting strange that morning. We had fought that night before." "About what?" I asked. "About leaving her." Brandon's voice dropped even lower. "I told her I wanted a divorce. I had found evidence that she was stealing from you, forging checks, using your credit cards. I tried to stop her, but she would not listen. So I told her I was done." My heart was pounding. This was it. The truth. "What happened after you told her?" "She got very quiet," Brandon said. "She told me she would make things right, that she would talk to you and confess everything. She offered to make lunch for both of us, said we could all sit down and work it out together. But the chocolate was poisoned." Brandon nodded weakly. "I did not know that at the time. But now, knowing what happened, she tried to kill both of us, did she not? You and me." "I think so," I said. "I think she put the poison in my cup, and I switched it with yours without knowing." We stared at each other for a moment. 2 people who had almost died because of the same woman. "You have to tell the police," I said. "You have to tell them what really happened." "I will," Brandon promised. "As soon as Detective Walsh comes back tomorrow, I will tell her everything." That was when Amanda walked in. She froze in the doorway. Her eyes moved from me to Brandon and back again. For just a second, her mask dropped. I saw cold calculation in her eyes. Fury. And something else. Fear. Then the mask was back in place. She screamed, "Security! She is attacking him! Someone help!" I backed away from the bed, hands up. I was not attacking anyone. I was just talking. But hospital security came running. They grabbed my arms. Amanda was crying, telling them I had been threatening Brandon, that I had broken into his room. "That is not true," Brandon said weakly from the bed. His voice was too quiet. No one heard him. Detective Walsh would testify later that the security footage showed me having a calm conversation with Brandon. But in the moment, all anyone saw was a woman on bail for attempted murder, violating a restraining order. Yes, Amanda had gotten a restraining order during the week I was being evaluated. I was not allowed within 500 feet of her or Brandon, and here I was, in Brandon's hospital room. The police arrived within minutes. I was arrested again. Martin Webb had to come down to the station in the middle of the night. My bail was revoked. They put me in county lockup overnight. But something else happened that night, something I would not find out about until much later. Detective Walsh reviewed the security footage. She saw me and Brandon talking. She could not hear what we said, but she could see our body language. We were not arguing. I was not threatening him. We were having a conversation, and she saw Amanda's face when she walked in. Just for a second, before Amanda started screaming, Walsh saw that cold, calculating look. It was enough to make her take a harder look at the case. The next morning, I was released again. More bail money, more conditions. But this time, something had shifted. Detective Walsh came to see me that afternoon. She told me they had interviewed Brandon. He had told them everything about the divorce, about Amanda stealing from me, about his suspicions that Amanda had tried to kill both of us. It is not enough to drop the charges against you, Walsh admitted, but it is enough to start building a case against Amanda. There was one problem. Amanda had disappeared. She had cleared out their joint bank accounts, packed a bag, left a note for Brandon saying she could not handle the stress anymore. Her phone was turned off. Her car was found abandoned at the bus station. She was running. That night, Thomas called me. His voice was shaking. "Mom, I am so sorry. Amanda called me. She confessed everything. She told me what she tried to do to you, to Brandon. She told me about Nathan. She said she was leaving the country." "Did you record the call?" I asked. "Yes," Thomas said. "I will send it to the police right away." Finally, I had what I needed. Amanda's own confession, in her own voice. But she was still out there, still free. And I had learned the hard way that Amanda was dangerous when she was cornered. The recording Thomas sent to Detective Walsh changed everything. Amanda's voice, rambling and emotional, confessed to trying to poison me. She blamed Gerald for changing the trust, blamed me for always loving Thomas more, which was not true but apparently was how she felt, blamed Brandon for trying to leave her. She detailed how she had planned it, how she had been visiting me all week to plant evidence, the oleander bottle in my bathroom, the fake emails she had created using my information, how she had been stealing from me for years, just like she stole from her father. Thomas had done the right thing by recording it, by turning it over to police, but I could hear the guilt in his voice when he called to tell me. "I should have believed you from the beginning," he said. "I am so sorry, Mom." "You did not know," I told him. She fooled all of us. Detective Walsh had put out an alert for Amanda. But my daughter had a 12-hour head start. She could be anywhere. I spent 3 days in my house, jumping at every sound. Martin Webb had the restraining order lifted. The charges against me were dropped. Brandon was recovering and would testify against Amanda when she was found. Patricia Kramer had come forward with information about Nathan's death. Walsh believed they could reopen that investigation based on the pattern of behavior. I should have felt relieved, vindicated. But all I felt was fear. Amanda was still out there, and she had nothing left to lose. On the 4th day, Dr. Foster's report came back completed. The toxicology on the hot chocolate itself. They had tested the remaining liquid in the cup I was supposed to drink from. High concentration of oleander extract. enough to kill a person of my size and age within hours. My instinct had saved my life. That same day, the fire department discovered something about the fire at my house the week before. The accelerant used, the point of origin. Someone had deliberately tried to burn down my garage. The goal had been to destroy evidence, or possibly to kill me while I slept. They found Amanda's fingerprints at the scene. Dorothy finally came to see me. She stood on my porch crying and apologizing. She had seen Amanda near my house the night of the fire, had seen her walking away from my garage, but she had not wanted to believe it, had not wanted to think Amanda could do something like that. I forgave Dorothy. What else could I do? Amanda had fooled everyone. Brandon was released from the hospital. He came to see me before going to stay with his parents in Ohio. He looked like he had aged 10 years in 2 weeks. His hair had gray in it that had not been there before. His hands shook when he held his coffee cup. "She almost killed me," he said. His voice was flat, empty. "My own wife tried to murder me." "I know," I said. "She tried to kill me, too." We sat in silence for a while. Two survivors of the same monster. "How did we not see it?" Brandon asked finally. "The signs were there. The way she talked about money. The way she reacted when things did not go her way. How did we miss it?" I did not have an answer for him. Brandon told me he had found life insurance policies. Ones Amanda had taken out on him 6 months ago without his knowledge. She had forged his signature, $1 million with her as the beneficiary. "That was when I knew she was planning this," he said. "When I found those policies. That was why I told her I wanted a divorce." He had been trying to protect both of us, and it had almost cost him his life. On the 7th day after Amanda disappeared, she called me. My phone rang at 11 at night. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom," Amanda's voice. She sounded tired, broken. "Where are you?" I asked. "It does not matter." She paused. "I just wanted you to know I am going to finish this, one way or another. Amanda, please." I tried to keep my voice calm. "Turn yourself in. Get help. It is not too late." "Yes, it is." Her laugh was bitter. "It has been too late for a long time." She told me she was at my house, the house that was still technically hers and Brandon's, but that she had not been to in days. Our old family home where I had raised both my children. "I am going to burn it down," she said. "With me inside. They will think it is another accident, another tragedy, and you will live with the guilt forever." "Amanda, no. Do not do this. If I cannot have the inheritance, no one will," she said. "Goodbye, Mom." She hung up. I called Detective Walsh immediately. Gave her the address. Told her what Amanda had said. Then I did something stupid. I got in my car and drove to the house. It took me 8 minutes. Police were already on their way, but I got there first. I saw Amanda's car in the driveway, saw lights on inside, saw the gasoline cans lined up by the front door. I should have waited for the police. I should have stayed in my car. But she was my daughter. The little girl I had held when she was born. The child I had loved more than my own life. I could not let her die like this. I went inside. Amanda was in the kitchen, our old kitchen where I had made thousands of meals, where I had taught her to bake cookies when she was 6 years old, where we had celebrated birthdays and holidays and ordinary Tuesday evenings. Gasoline was everywhere. The smell was overwhelming. Amanda stood in the middle of it holding a lighter. She looked at me when I walked in. Her face was streaked with tears. "You should not have come," she said. "Now I will have to kill you, too. I do not want to die, Amanda. And I do not think you want to die either. You do not know what I want." Her hand was shaking. The lighter flickered, but did not catch. "Then tell me." I took a step closer. "Make me understand." She started talking, words tumbling out in a rush. How she had always felt like the lesser child. How Thomas was the smart one, the successful one, the one who made us proud. How she had tried so hard to measure up, but never felt good enough. How, when Gerald changed the trust, it confirmed what she had always believed, that she was worth less, that she mattered less. I tried to tell her that was not true, that we loved her just as much as Thomas, but she would not listen. She told me about Nathan, how he had been going to leave her, how she could not stand the thought of being abandoned again, how the poison had been easy, how quick it was, how no one suspected. And Brandon. Her voice broke when she talked about Brandon. She had loved him, she said, but he had found out about the money, about the stealing. He was going to leave her too. "I could not let him leave," she said. "I could not lose another person." "So you tried to kill him," I said. "And me. I just wanted what was mine." Her voice was desperate now. "I just wanted to matter." "You do matter," I told her. "You are my daughter. You will always matter to me." "Then why did Dad leave me almost nothing?" she screamed. "Why did he love Thomas more?" "He did not love Thomas more. He was trying to protect you, trying to help you." By taking away my inheritance? By treating me like I was worthless? There was no reasoning with her. The pain was too deep, the damage too extensive. She flicked the lighter again. This time, it caught. "Amanda, do not." She looked at me. For just a second, I saw my little girl, the one who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, the one who sang off key and laughed at her own jokes. "I am sorry, Mom," she said. Then she dropped the lighter. I do not remember consciously deciding to tackle her. My body just moved, years of maternal instinct overriding common sense. I hit her hard, knocking her away from the flames. We both went down. The fire was spreading fast. The gasoline whooshed into flame. Heat and smoke filled the kitchen. I grabbed Amanda's arm, pulled her toward the door. She fought me at first, then seemed to give up. We stumbled outside together just as the first police car pulled up. Detective Walsh and 3 officers came running. They pulled Amanda away from me. Someone was shouting about the fire. Someone else was calling the fire department. Amanda collapsed on the lawn, sobbing. I sat next to her, coughing from the smoke, watching our old house burn. The police arrested her, read her rights. She did not fight, just kept crying and saying she was sorry over and over again. As they put her in the police car, she looked at me one last time. "I love you, Mom," she said. "I know," I told her. "I love you too." But love was not enough. It had never been enough. The house burned for 3 hours before the fire department got it under control. By morning, there was nothing left but the frame and memories. Amanda was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of arson, multiple counts of fraud and forgery. The district attorney was also reopening Nathan Kramer's case. With Amanda's confession on Thomas's recording, they believed they had enough to charge her with his murder, too. Brandon would testify. Patricia Kramer would testify. Thomas would provide the recording. Detective Walsh had built an airtight case. Amanda's lawyer worked out a plea deal. Life in prison with possibility of parole after 30 years. In exchange, she would not face the death penalty. She accepted it. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I sat in the courtroom every day and watched my daughter plead guilty to trying to kill me, to trying to kill Brandon, to murdering Nathan Kramer. The judge listened to testimony from everyone involved. From Brandon, who described the poisoning. From Patricia Kramer, who finally got to tell the world what happened to her son. From Thomas, who played the recording of Amanda's confession. And from me. I had to stand up in front of everyone and describe the day my daughter handed me a cup of hot chocolate and smiled while trying to end my life. The judge gave her the maximum sentence allowed under the plea agreement. Life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Amanda would be 64 years old before she could even apply for release. She also ordered restitution, though Amanda had no money to pay. Everything she had stolen from me over the years. Everything she had taken from Nathan's estate. It added up to over $300,000. Money I would likely never see again. When the judge asked if Amanda had anything to say, she stood up and looked directly at me. "I am sorry, Mom," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I am so sorry for everything I did, for the pain I caused, for the lives I destroyed. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that I loved you. I still love you. I just could not see past my own pain to remember that." The bailiff led her away. I watched my daughter walk out of the courtroom in handcuffs and orange prison clothes. I tried to remember her as a little girl, as the child who used to hold my hand, but all I could see was the woman who had tried to kill me. The months after the trial were strange. I sold my house. Too many bad memories there now. The house Amanda and Brandon had lived in next door had already been sold. I used some of the money to buy a small condo in a senior community on the other side of town, closer to Dorothy, who had become a true friend through all of this, a place where no one knew my story, where I could start over. Brandon moved to Ohio to be near his parents while he continued to recover. We talk on the phone once a month. He is doing better physically, though the doctors say he will have health issues for the rest of his life. Emotionally, he is in therapy, trying to process what happened, trying to forgive himself for not seeing who Amanda really was. I tell him it is not his fault. None of us saw it. Amanda was very good at hiding her true nature. Thomas visits more often now. He brings his wife and their baby daughter, my first grandchild. They named her Grace. Thomas says it is because we all needed grace to get through what happened. I think about what went wrong, where I failed as a mother. The therapist I started seeing tells me I did not fail, that some people are wired differently, that Amanda made her own choices, but I still wonder. I joined a support group for family members of people who have committed serious crimes. There are more of us than you might think. Parents whose children turned out to be monsters, siblings who did terrible things, spouses who hid their true selves for years. We share our stories. We try to make sense of the senseless. We remind each other that we are not responsible for the choices other people make, even when those people are our children. A year after the trial, I went to visit Amanda in prison. It was the first time I had seen her since sentencing. She looked different, thinner, older. Her hair was longer and streaked with gray. She no longer bothered to dye. We sat across from each other in the visiting room with a table between us. For a long time, neither of us spoke. "How are you?" I finally asked. "Alive," she said, "which is more than I deserve." She told me about prison, the routine, the therapy she was required to attend, the medication for her personality disorder. She was beginning to understand what she had done, the magnitude of it, the lives she had destroyed. "Do you hate me?" she asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said finally, "I do not hate you. But I do not forgive you either. Not yet, maybe not ever." "I understand," she said. "You are still my daughter," I told her. "I still love you. But I will never forget what you tried to do." We talked for another hour, about small things, about nothing important. When visiting time was up, I left. I might go back someday. I might not. I am still deciding. The lesson I learned from all of this is about trust, about instinct. That day when Amanda handed me the hot chocolate and something in my gut told me it was wrong, I listened. I trusted that feeling even though I had no logical reason to. That instinct saved my life. We spend so much time questioning ourselves, doubting our perceptions, telling ourselves we are being paranoid or irrational, especially women, especially mothers. We are taught to trust everyone, to see the good in people, to give second chances and third chances and infinite chances. But sometimes that voice inside you that says something is wrong needs to be heard. That feeling in your stomach that tells you to be careful needs to be respected. Your instincts are there for a reason. I thought I knew my daughter completely. I had given birth to her, raised her, loved her for 34 years, but I did not really know her at all. She hid her darkness from everyone, even from herself, maybe. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. Protecting yourself is not hatred. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is recognize when someone you love has become someone dangerous. Family does not mean blind trust. Blood does not require you to sacrifice your safety, and love does not mean accepting abuse or accepting danger into your life. I learned that I could survive the unthinkable, that I could fight back when cornered, that I could stand up for myself, even when everyone thought I was crazy, that I had more strength than I ever knew. And I learned that on the other side of horror, there can still be peace, still be joy, still be a life worth living. I am 70 now. I have a small garden on my condo patio where I grow tomatoes and herbs. I have coffee with Dorothy every Wednesday. I babysit little Grace every other weekend, while Thomas and his wife have date nights. I am dating a man named Harold who lives in my building. He is a widower with kind eyes and a gentle laugh. We go to movies and play bingo in the community center. Life goes on, different than I imagined, different than I planned, but still good, still mine. That cup of hot chocolate changed everything. My decision to switch those cups saved my life and exposed the truth. It cost me my daughter in one way, but saved both of us in another. Because Amanda is getting help now. Real help. Whether she can ever truly heal, I do not know. But she is alive and has a chance. That is something. I keep a photo album in my living room, pictures of my family through the years. Thomas as a baby, Amanda blowing out birthday candles, Gerald and me on our wedding day. I look at these photos sometimes and remember when life was simpler, when I still believed I knew my children, when I thought love alone was enough to keep a family safe. I know better now. Love is important, but so is awareness, so is caution, so is trusting yourself when something feels wrong. I survived because I listened to that small voice inside me that said danger. I am here today because I protected myself when I needed to, and that is enough. Have you ever had a moment where your instincts told you something was wrong, but you questioned whether to trust them? How do you balance loving someone with protecting yourself? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you or made you think differently about trust and family, please give it a like. Subscribe to hear more stories about real-life challenges and how people overcome them. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message about trusting their instincts, please share this with them. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives you the courage to trust yourself when you need it most. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember that your instincts are there to protect you.